Hello everyone, and in this clip we are going to review some Anivia gameplay performed by one of the most renowned Anivia mains in the world, named Froggen. Anivia is not the easiest champion to play, especially when compared to other mid laners. But with enough skill and experience, this Cryo Phoenix can carry any match, one after another. All of that thanks to the unique set of spells, which forces the opponents to either waste a lot of resources to escape alive, or to face their inevitable death. So let's take a closer look.